Hello, friends who are joining this World Peace Congress in Barcelona, and many more people are joining online from around the world. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak before you today. I was born in 1943 in Nagasaki. The atomic bomb was dropped on August 9th, 1945, when I was 1 year and 10 months old. At that time, I was at home. My house was located in the south of Nagasaki City, 2.9 kilometers away from the epicenter, which was in the northern part of the city. Though I was too young to remember what happened on that day, I was able to survive thanks to the landscape of Nagasaki, which is surrounded by mountains. I grew up listening to my mother talking from time to time about her experience. Soon after the A-bomb was dropped, fires broke out from the epicenter toward the southern part of the city. To escape the fire, wounded and burned people crossed the mountain to come down into the area where we lived. My mother saw the movement of people lined up like ants. Their hair was so matted with blood that she couldn't even tell if they were male or female. They were almost naked. She trembled seeing the black and writhing line of people coming down the mountain. Many people are believed to have died on that mountain road. Right next to my house was a plot of land left vacant after several houses were torn down to create a fire break in case of air raids. Bodies that had been abandoned on the street were carried into the lot in garbage carts and piled up on the ground. The corpses were cremated there day and night. My mother became desensitized to the smell and the sheer number of people in front of our eyes. She said that everybody became numb to what was happening. What is human dignity? Should human beings be treated like that? We are not created to be burned like garbage. There was a well at the back of our house. A number of people who had been severely injured came there for water. Carrying me on her back, my mother cleaned their wounds and used old clothes, which she had boiled beforehand, for bandages. She never knew what happened to those people. My mother was sent to help the doctors at the university auditorium where a first aid station had been set up. She fainted at the sight of the floor, completely covered with people with extremely severe injuries and burns. When she regained consciousness, the first task she was assigned to was to brush off numerous maggots the size of her thumb from the patients. She was 24 years old at the time. With the intensive press censorship imposed by the US, the tragic situation of the victims and their suffering were completely covered up. For 10 years after the bombing, both the Japanese and the US governments turned a blind eye to the plight of the victims. We Hibakusha were left abandoned when we needed help most desperately. The US hydrogen bomb test in 1954 at Bikini Atoll caused widespread damage by its fallout, affecting the Marshall Islanders and crew members of many Japanese fishing boats operating in the Pacific. The bikini test triggered a great surge of people's protests, and a signature campaign demanding a total ban on nuclear weapons spread like wildfire across Japan, drawing more than 30 million signatures. It culminated in the first World Conference against A and H bombs in 1955. Encouraged by the people's mobilization, the hibakusha, who had been marginalized in society, stood up to make their voices heard in public. And in 1956, Nihon Hidankyo was founded as a national organization of the hibakusha. Ever since then, we have been faithfully working toward the abolition of nuclear weapons without taking even a single day of rest. In 1946, the very first resolution adopted by the first United Nations General Assembly set up a commission to work for the elimination of atomic weapons. What has the world been doing to achieve this goal? 50 years have passed since the NPT entered into force, and on January 22nd this year, the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, our long-held hope and demands, entered into force and became international law. The driving force of this important achievement is the fact that the world has come to focus on the inhuman aspects of nuclear weapons and not on mere numbers of casualties or statistics only. After many years, people are beginning to know the humanitarian consequences of what the atomic bombs did and continue to do. While the coming into force of the TPNW is a source of jubilation, it is only the first step for our new beginning. What is now required of the world? The threat and use of nuclear weapons is imminent. The International Conference on the Humanitarian Impact of Nuclear Weapons concluded that no country or organization has treatment options for the victims. Hibakusha have seen and experienced death, disease, poverty, and discrimination. These are also what we are seeing right now throughout the world as a result of the coronavirus pandemic. In a few years, there will be various vaccines and things may be brought under control to some extent. However, if nuclear weapons are used, there will be nothing left but an earth devoid of human beings. There will be nobody left to toll the bell for the dead. We hibakusha have talked about our own experiences, although each of us suffers every time we relive our moments of agony and grief. The average of hibakusha or survivors of the bomb is now 84. Every year, around 9,000 of them pass away. We want our voices to be heard more by political leaders, diplomats, scientists, and even peace activists throughout the world, so that no one will ever again experience the same damage and suffering that the Hibakusha have gone through. Although the Japanese government refuses to sign and ratify the treaty, 71% of the Japanese public support the TPNW. We are now working on signature campaign calling on the government of Japan to sign and ratify the treaty as the only A-bomb nation in wartime. The TPNW opened the door toward a nuclear weapon-free world. Whether we can actually achieve such a world depends on a decision by the nuclear-armed states and their allies to abandon their nuclear deterrence policy, as well as the action of us citizens to urge these governments to make that decision. And what is required of us is to disarm our hearts, pray, hold dialogues with the people, and take action together. We Hibakusha pledge to use our remaining strength to work together with you. Nuclear weapons were made by humans and used by them. Therefore, we must abolish them with our own hands and our public conscience. So friends, let us continue our work together. Thank you.